what would have happened if I stayed in DC and never chased after the dream? Would I be able to read to my kids?
Uh, if you would have, it would have taken a lot longer of a time, and yeah, it's unlikely it would be as good.
Good.
Okay, welcome everybody to Yield Today with Dallin Candland. I'm joined by the one and only Christian Appia-Knudsen joining me today. He's a public speaker. He runs the company DoYourWhy. He also works at Cisco, so he's a busy guy. Really happy to have him on the show today.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for inviting me in today. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's just, a little bit crazy, and all the while just trying to learn and grow and just provide value and learn from people.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that's all you could do, right? Especially with this COVID and everything that's going on right now. I hope your family is safe, though, first and foremost. How's your family doing?
Yeah, we're all doing really good. My dad hasn't had to miss a day of work from this, and both me and my brother James are doing school from home at BYU Idaho. And this is a great time to do a bunch of podcasting because people like to get their message out. And I've been doing Zoom stuff a little bit. I've been teaching an online YouTube Zoom class about helping people get into YouTube, and I've been getting more and more familiar with it. So it's been pretty good overall. Not too bad for me.
Well, that's good. That's good. So today, what is our conversation? What would you like to focus on today?
See, that's the crazy thing, man, because we could go anywhere with this. I swear. Because sometimes with people, when I talk to them, I know what I'm going to talk about and I have a good idea for the audience. But with you, we could go a lot of places. But I just want to start at your beginning and see where we go from there. How's that sound?
That's awesome. I mean, let's do it.
Okay, so you're born in Ghana, right?
Yes.
And then, you're born in humble circumstances, born in a village.
Yes.
And kind of what was your growing up life like say first 5-10 years or so?
Wow. That's a mouthful worth of question, but you know what? I'll do my best to answer it. And thank you, by the way, for that great question. So Christian is actually known in my village when I'm there. They don't call me Christian, they call me Kujo, meaning Monday, because I was born Monday.
Oh, cool.
But I was raised up in a three-house village in West Africa, Ghana. I live right between the borders of Ivory Coast and Ghana, just up on the northern side of it. And all my life, since I was born, and I could barely remember as a childhood what my childhood was all about. All I know is that I lived in a three-house village, okay? And that three-house village that I lived was made out of mud, like the mud and also the twigs and all of that, and then the palm trees, we cover it in cocoa leaves. That is what we use as a roofing. And so life, if you ask me, at the age of about 6.5, due to the predicament that we were in within my family, my father was not part of our family. My mother was severely alcoholic. So I lived with my grandmother and my two siblings and some few of my family members, which is my uncles and things like that. So it was hard. Life was definitely hard. And during those times, life took, turn for the worse. And I had to sacrifice my life. I said, being the older person in the family, within my family, I had to learn how to become a child hunter as a kid, in order to put food on the table for my brother, my sister, and even my grandmother. And I did this for several years. And the village where I come from, I had only one dream. And that dream was to see a car, because I've never seen a car in my entire life. And there's some few other villages around within the community where some of the well-to-do cocoa farmers will be sending their kids to the schools in the cities. And when they get home during their vacation, like right now, let's say all of you have the summer vacation, you go home and you go home and you talk about your experiences that you're having. Like, let's say right now, if you're from Utah and you're going back to from Idaho, you talk about your experiences and things you've experienced. And then these kids will come and they can have the whole entire community, our ears literally burning about this magical machine that could take multiple people for long distance and all this, and the music, and they could talk about it. I mean, it got to the point where they will even like have us do their physical labor work for them, their family duties, like their chores, in order to tell us their stories.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so I was always fascinated, and I always wanted to do a car. And so as a kid, and you know, as silly as it sounds, you know, that was my dream. But then my dream changed. In the midst of wanting to see a car and everything, my story became a story of struggle, a story of uncomfortable, a story of unknown. And what I found out of that was destiny. And it's that as young as I was at that time, my grandmother came to me and said, hey, we have two of the greatest hunters in this area. Your father is nowhere. Your mother is not here. Nobody is helping. And right now we're struggling. You need to become a hunter with these guys. As hard as it is for me, as frustrated as it was at that time, I didn't know what to say. And somebody had to step up. And I did. So I did this until I was about 11 and a half years, where I had the opportunity for the first time. My mother has actually been left. She had left the village. We haven't seen her for years. And then she showed up one day, all of a sudden, she's like, hey, today's the day. I promised you I was going to take you to go see cars in the city. So imagine never been to a city where you could see cars. They take you, my mother take me literally to one of the biggest city in Ghana, which is Accra. And I see cars. Dude, I was so fascinated. I sat in a car. When I saw a street light, I thought that they were fires, right? And I didn't want to get closer because if I do, they're gonna follow me and burn me. I mean, you are talking about village. I was so out of my element and everything. And the unknown to me during that time, I was too young, never been to school, none of that. My mother actually smuggled me in from Ghana to Belgium, Brussels, Belgium. And wow. I wish I have my shirt, the shirt that I was wearing that day. I still have it. I vow not to ever throw it away. It was like a t-shirt, what you consider t-shirt. A jeans, it was like a yellow jeans with a flip-flop in the middle of the winter. And you know how cold Utah and Idaho weather gets. Times that by like 3.
Oh, dang.
And in the middle of winter, when we arrived in Europe, and we had gone for a few days, no food. And we were just tired, exhausted, weak. When we arrived, my mother actually told me she was going to go get us food. And I was supposed to stay at one corner. Like there was this corner that we were still on the street. I should stay there and wait for her. She'll be right back. My mother never returned. Imagine being 11 and a half years old. You don't speak Dutch. You don't speak French. You don't speak English. The only thing that I speak was my native language, which is Tree. It was one of the most difficult times. And I thought back in Africa, before I could become a hunter, I was put in the size of like a football field. And these hunters will literally release dogs on each corner. And my training, in order to save myself and protect myself, I thought that was dangerous by running as fast as I can to climb the nearest tree for safety. Or else I'll be getting bitten by these dogs just to help me build up the instinct to always protect, right? And find safety. I thought my life was hard. But then when I got to Belgium and the overwhelming modern world of Antwerp, that was something that was overwhelmed. So my destiny kind of took me from a refugee to a juvenile system because I didn't have any documentation on me that says Christian is from here, Christian is from this, nothing.
Wow.
And I lived in some very rough areas. But when I was in there, all I wanted to do was go back home because I was the only person who was providing for my family at that time. And I couldn't speak French. I couldn't communicate with all these people. Like they had a lot of people from Iran, Morocco, all these places that are all in this refugee, and they live together and everything. And it was so hard. It was so hard for me to even communicate. But in the midst of all of this, all I wanted to do is I wanted to be understand. I want somebody, I want to fit in. I want somebody to actually smile back at me.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, it was
Appreciate
very,
you.
It was very lonely. And the way I was able to get through that was that I keep telling myself a story that before I even became a hunter, I learned from one of my most amazing influencers. He was a drummer. He's a drum master. I played the djembe a lot, the djembe drum. And the reason why I discovered djembe drum was this drum master. He makes his drums mainly from when he makes the drum, the rich people will buy for their kids, and he will teach them the cultural dance and the stuff and everything. And so a bunch of kids were in there. But this guy was such a smart man. One day I walked up to him, right? Kids, we can be sometimes very stupid. I walked up to him and I'm like, so I want one of your drum. And he said, no, you can't have my drum. I'm like, come on, we are poor. The excuses is that sometimes when we don't want to do anything, we make excuses for everything, right? My family is poor. That, my grandmother, we live in this community with you and everything. And the guy's like, just the fact that I know your grandmother does not mean that you don't buy the drums. I was about to just walk away. And then he said to me, you didn't need a drum in order to play your rhythm. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, then why do you make the drums? If I didn't need a drum, why do you make the drums? So that's when he called me back. And he taught me 3 principles, which today I think I would love to demonstrate it to you. Yeah. And this is what got me through when I was stuck at a juvenile place. And that goes with, he taught me how to use my tongue to actually do. With just my tongue. Could hear how loud it is. And then he taught me how to use this and clap. It was very boring. Just that. Come on. I won the drum.
Like, just do this instead.
Yeah, son of a French, I don't want to clap. I want the drum. And that's when he said, be patient.
Yeah.
He was just walking me through the process. And he said, now when you clap, apply it. Clap, apply it. Clap, apply it. I'm getting more frustrated at this point. Listen,
I bet.
This sounds nothing like the drum. But then here's how, when I put everything together, this is how it turns out to become.
Oh, nice. The sound kind of went lower, but I can hear it.
Okay. So here I was. I'm using this thing to click, and my whole body, like I could go as fast as I want. I could go as slow as I want. And this
Do
guy,
you want to do it again real quick? I don't think I got
okay.
great audio that last
So
time.
first time, so the tongue go. So you use your tongue and you clap, 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 and clap, clap, and clap. So when you put it all together, it goes to.
Some reason the sound cut off again. That's weird.
Yeah. I can do it one more time for you as we go to the end if you need me to. But
Okay.
the theory I learned from here is that now all these kids that used to be in his class were all coming with their drums and everything. They saw me with me going off and doing this thing and this guy adding drums to it. It was the best moment. And they're like, holy cow, like, how do we get to do that? How do we? And then that's when he taught me how to trade the value that I have within me. And so the deal that I made with my peers was, if I can show you how to do it, can I have your drum next week or tomorrow, 5 minutes? I'll sit in the class with him so I can play. Because I wanted to fit it. But it wasn't even the negotiation part that was even more impactful for me. What he told me is that you were worried, Kujo, that you needed a drum. You didn't need my drum. Everything that you need to succeed is within you. And I want you to know that you didn't need my drum in order to play your rhythm. Your rhythm is within.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Since then, I think when I was stuck in the, in the juvenile, when I couldn't find anybody, when I felt like I was having this setback and no one was there to value me in anything in life, that man was speaking louder than anybody else. That I didn't need the drum in order to live as a person who I was as a kid. Well, my path came across in an American family, American diplomatic family that were working for the US government, who found me worthy of their love. And overnight, my life changed. They went home, they adopted me, my brother, my sister, all three of us brought us to the US. The reason why I'm in Utah is because my adopted dad is actually from Brigham City. I have a lot of cousins here in Utah, and I just like Utah, and I came to school. So it took a little bit longer. By the time they finished these adoption papers and everything, I still consider myself the oldest person to be ever adopted in Ghana, because I was like 17 and a half, almost 18. I was a freaking good runner, but I was too old. Could barely understand the basic principles of what school is all about, because I never had the opportunity. And I remember when I got adopted, and the very first time my parents brought me to school, it was well-to-do international school, and they gave me a piece of paper to write a little bit about myself. And all I could write was, my name is Christian Appia-Knudsen. And my brother, who had a little bit of the opportunity to go to school, he was writing like a crazy person. And I sat and I kept looking at his work, and I really wanted to copy whatever he was putting down. But I realized that it wasn't mine. It was whatever is coming out of him. And I felt so dumb. I felt so unworthy. I felt like, how could somebody be this smart? And yet here I am. But what happened was that me growing up in the village, in a three-house village, waking up every day to go hunt in order to actually feed my family. Being brought to an unknown land and being able to survive the modern world of Belgium, I never gave myself a credit for being worth it. Because in the moment, I got caught up into my brother's smartness. And the discouragement of this, like a placement test, literally like was all over my face. And when we got home, my adopted mother saw it. And she called me to her room and she said, Kujo, I want to introduce you to this man. And she told me the story of Abraham Lincoln and how he had such a very little education, but he went off to become a lawyer. He went off to become a public statesman, because there's a difference between a president and a statesman. And a state person is somebody who take the raw data, they look at the past and how bad past has been, and make a better decision to make sure that the future kids, the future generations actually have a better future. That is a statesman. And that is what Abraham Lincoln was. And I fall in love with this man. He had a book of his picture on it. And I used to carry that book everywhere. I still have the book somewhere in the house. Mm. Even to date, my favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln is, I walk slowly, but never backwards. Shortly after all these events, I turned 18. Well, I was too old to be in school. I was a great runner, supposed to be heading to college, but I could barely even read and write. And as a matter of fact, my parents actually packed my stuff. I was in France, went there, I won almost all the championship there for running, for track and field. And I got back from France late summer. And my family said, here's your bag, you're moving to Utah.
Wow. I've never been out of the country, so I can't even imagine that.
Imagine not being able to speak even proper English. I could understand more than I could speak. And all of a sudden, I got to come to Utah, come get my GED and all of these things. And actually in the airplane, I got my first nickname that I'm so proud of. They call it coffee or tea. So you can even title this coffee or tea today. Well, I was feeling very uneasy because I've never really traveled outside in an airplane by myself. My first time traveling, because since I got adopted, my parents brought us here to finalize all the paperwork and everything, and we went back with them. And then this time I'm coming by myself, and JFK, I have to come to Brussels International Airport. And while we were in the plane, we were in the car going to the airport, we stopped by and picked up one of this, African lady that actually helped my parents, my adopted parents, when they were in Ghana to adopt us. Her name is Janet. And Miss Janet said to me, Ghana, we eat heavy food. So when you sit in the airplane, if they come in and ask you anything, you're going to such a long journey, just say rice. If you want it, they ask you whatever you want to eat, just say rice. They will give you rice. They will fill you up. Well, I thought she was giving me the best advice. You know how sometimes you take people's advice and then you figure that out they're not the way it's supposed to be. Well, I didn't know what Delta has on the menu. Mm-hmm. So picture me, I wasn't this big, I wasn't muscle and everything. I was scrawny little kid sitting there thinking about the unknown, the venture I'm going to be taking on. JFK alone was overwhelming to me for thinking about that. I'm going to go through JFK and I swear I was going to get lost. And I felt this tap on my shoulder. This lady says, sir, do you want coffee or tea? What do you think my answer was going to be?
Rice.
Rice. Rice. And so I'm like, rice, right? But the way I said it, people just like started looking at me very strange. And people just burst out laughing. And I didn't understand why they were laughing at me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's such an art that you go to, like, for instance, walking into Starbucks and asking for rice. It's unheard of.
Yeah, you don't go to Starbucks and ask for rice. No.
You. So it's like this person asking me if I want coffee or tea, and my answer was just rice. And everybody was just laughing at it. But when they discovered that I couldn't speak English, and I didn't understand that much, it wasn't the laughter that actually bothered me. It was this lady that was sitting right in front of me. She was sitting with her husband. And she leaned into her husband and whispered to her his ears, "Wow, if this kid is going to America where everybody speaks English and he doesn't speak English, he's going to suffer." I was alone.
Yeah, she didn't say like he's gonna suffer, let's help him. She just said
No.
he's
Yeah.
gonna suffer. Period.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that came to my heart so hard that I said to myself, I am going to an unknown place. I'm not even there yet. I'm in the airplane. I'm in up. I'm not even there yet. And somebody's telling me I'm going to suffer.
Yeah.
Well, I better embrace myself for the rough. So what is worth suffering from? That's what the question it came to my mind. What is worth suffering from? And why would I suffer? That was the day I began to understand the principle of knowing and doing my why. That's why I named my company DoYourWhy. That was the beginning for me to begin to understand the concept of it. All I wanted to do was get an education. Nothing else matters. And when I got to Utah, my struggle even began. Today, I have the biggest thighs because I used to ride bicycle everywhere I go. I didn't even get a freaking driver's license. Nobody would even put me behind their cars for me to even take the driver's ed. It took me 5 times before I even get my driver's license. I kept failing. Failure became my best friend. I had to learn to love failure. I used to live in Linden. In Linden, Utah. And I would ride my bicycle all the way to BYU, Provo Library. Sometimes I'll sit there to almost midnight for my friends that I know that are from the Ghanaian community to get off from school to help me to even read a book. But I was determined because I wanted to make sure that one day, it wasn't because of a job or anything, but one day I could read, so I can read to my children. Because I know one day I was going to be a father. And I wanted my children to value education. And also I want to be able to tell them to go to school in the morning and for them to not tell me, "Daddy, you didn't go to school. Why should I go?" I did not want to tell them to do something I wasn't willing to do. And so I wanted to demonstrate it to them that if I could do it, they could do better.
Yeah. Some powerful stuff.
I struggle. You talking about GED, I felt so much. My parents lived in DC. In 2007, I was there for Christmas. And my mother even pulled me into a room and begged me quit school, quit everything, and literally just save them from the embarrassment. My adopted mom, yes, my heart was broken because all I needed was somebody to just tap me on my shoulder and say, son, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. That's all I needed. My mother wanted me to come back and live back home in East Coast and take care of her and my dad. So when they get old, I take care of them. So when they die, they will leave me their house and whatever money they have left. Because out of the 5 kids, they think that I wasn't going to be the one who would succeed at all. To be honest with you, that was my heartbroken experience I ever had. I have white brothers, white siblings, white sister. And to hear this was heartbreaking. I have a brother, a sister. They were all going to high school because they were young. So I got pissed off about life. And I packed up with $150 in my pocket and head down to Utah again to give it another try. My struggles brought me when I finally got my GED. For a year, I didn't talk to anybody. Sometime in the process of trying to build something valuable, you got to be careful who you're bringing into that circle. Because there's people who are going to say, you're not good at what you're doing. And they're going to knock you off from your rhythm so hard that you wouldn't even know what to do. Well, when I came here, I couldn't even go to school. I had only one drum with me that I play my drums to go back and recollect some of the stories and the music that I used to learn from my drum master to encourage me to move forward with life. 2008, I got my GED, everything. And I enrolled myself at Utah Valley University. During that time, because of my drumming ability, I began to get called to a lot of different functions for the presidents and all these people. And I began to learn networking. You know, even my English wasn't the perfect. I was always showing up and doing the very best and putting my best foot forward. By the time I noticed, I was in the governor's office having a meeting with the governor to go around. I was commissioned by the former Governor Huntsman to go to every single high school in Utah to share my story with these people.
Wow.
Our new program. And so imagine not being able to even written my very first story and sharing a story on the stage. It was really rough, but I did it consistently. I got better at it. I got down to the school. I used to work for Coca-Cola USA. I used to be the guy when you walk into Walmart, all the nice displays, I will be the guy who was building it with $12 an hour. I will work it, you know, I woke up like 3 a.m. in the morning to work until like sometime
Can't imagine that.
Oh yeah, 5 a.m.
Oh no.
And then I have to wake up and I have to, I mean, 5 p.m. I will get off at 5 p.m., run to school as quickly as I could.
Oh no.
And then the worst part is that I didn't even know what a thesis statement was. Didn't even know how to write one. So when I have an assignment, I literally have to wait for some of my friends to get off from class. And sometimes they're international students. So they get off at like midnight. And so by the time they finish my homework, it's like 2 o'clock. I come home and I sleep for an hour. Sometimes I was sleeping in my car so that I don't even have to come home. I did this for 4 years. My goodness, it was terrible.
That's crazy.
I failed so much. I went from academic warning to academic warning. And so one day I was sitting there and I'm like, what am I going to do to get out of this? And that's when I went to my professors and I let them understood where my weaknesses were. right at the beginning of the semesters. And so I was collecting my work, my homeworks for the whole entire quarter, for the whole entire semester. And I'll try to make sure that my homework is due 2 weeks before it's due. So then the teacher can have time to review it and give me a response back. I did this day in, day out. For 8 years, I did not have fun. All I did was school and work. And in the midst of all the chaos and the darkness, somebody have to rise above the cloud and see that beautiful attitude that is between the clouds. I graduated with bachelor's in communication, speech, and minor in business marketing from Utah Valley University 2016. I quickly left there to go to a software company, learn everything I could learn about the email security, cybersecurity, became so good. I made money. So I started buying homes and rent them out. Today I own real estate. When you go out there, look for blueprint real estate. I'm on the board. People rent from me.
That's amazing.
The car that I always dreamed to have, I have 2 today.
Wow.
I have a 10-bedroom home with a basketball court. All of it for my 2 kids. I got a daughter who's actually turning 4 this coming Saturday, a son who will be turning 2. And you know the funny thing is, my daughter, since she was born, that kid has required me to read every single night. So if I'm not on business trip, I am home. By 7 o'clock, we are sitting down, we're doing family reading night.
Oh.
Every single night. So what would have happened if I stayed in DC and never chased after the dream? Would I be able to read to my kids?
If you would have, it would have taken a lot longer of a time, and yeah, it's unlikely it would be as good.
Good. And one thing that I always trying to tell people to help people understand, that's why when I go out there and, encourage this youth and encourage these, you up and coming leaders in today's world, I try not to boast in myself and what I'm able to do. Well, if I'm able to do that, that's not good enough. There's still more for me that I could do. But to me, I don't compare myself to anyone. I compare myself to my inner strength. That's what I call it, hearing your rhythm. Because when there's a problem or where is something, a vision, when you have it in your heart, in your mind, you begin to just hear it first. How would it be like? I'm right here and it's all negative. Well, what if I have the pen and paper in my hand? They said, I need to write the opposite of negative. What would I want to put in that positive? Then I'll list everything down. And the more I'm hearing myself, all the good things that I could achieve, what ifs, that is me hearing my inner intuition with me. And also I have to feel it. Once I can feel that, I'm going to take action.
Yeah.
And when you take the action with that determination and the motivation, purpose, living purposeful life is easy. And that is what I've done. Today I work for Cisco Systems, the leading technology company in the world. We have nearly 2,000 employees. Okay? And today in Cisco, just in the US, the whole entire US, I'm the #1 sales rep for them.
You are?
In my sector, yes.
What? Way to go, man. That's awesome.
And it's not because I got it easy. I have to believe in myself that there's something I might not have right now. But whatever it is that I have that is valuable, that could make someone's life better, that is what I'm going to give. And I'm going to give the best of me.
Mm.
Because to me, when problems happen, and maybe you probably see a lot of these things, very often I get discouraged when I see people with so much potential, so many
Oh
great
yeah. Oh
they can
yeah.
become, and they just look at one thing they don't have in life, and they say, well, I'm not good enough. This person is beautiful than me. This person is this. And we became so much, we compare ourselves. So we don't even know how to handle failure. Well, guess what? Failure to me is a secret to success. You have the opportunity to go make something right again. And that is why I thrive and do what I do every day. And to me, being able to hear my own rhythm within me and feeling it and being able to play that rhythm, I'm able to do so much that now I have to also invest when I get opportunity, invest in the community. That is why I volunteer in the community to go out to all the middle school, high schools, colleges. You name me anywhere, I go. Even the church actually reached out to me. If it wasn't COVID, this coming September, I was going to be holding almost 6,000 youth conference program for them, to share the stories and then the things that I have now put together. Now, this thing have become a business where now I have a group of people. Now we're putting so many great things. And I know that you've been seeing some of my t-shirts and things like that. By the way, you need to buy one and support me out there.
Dude, I gotta, I'll hook you up. No worries. It looks good. And I love the story. Can we dive a little bit into some thoughts I've had
Yes.
real fast? So I really value this story. There's so much power in it. One thing that's come to mind is like an underlying theme is perspective. So when I was born in a hospital, and my parents drove to the hospital, and I was born there, and then they drove me back. Like, I was pretty much born on time. Everything was solid. I just done and I was gone, and then, with me in cars, I would be put in car seats sometimes against my will. And it was this battle sometimes, like, I don't want to sit in this car seat. And I took it for granted. Whereas the complete opposite with you. And I had a birth certificate and these other things that kind of validated me instantly. Whereas with you, you were dreaming of seeing a car. You heard about it. You didn't even know they were real. You didn't even see them. So, like, I guess, what is something that you've done to kind of build that gratitude mountain, so to speak, to kind of, I don't know, just to kind of help you with continuing to move forward? Because I know sometimes, like, now that you're in this better spot, it can be easy to kind of plateau a bit, right? Like, okay, I've gone to this point, and now I'm like on top of the world, but you're still growing. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what I've learned from that is that it goes back to the principle of what my drum master said. No matter what your obstacles are, if you learn to embrace them, you can overcome. And also, everything that you need to be in this world, it's not outside of you. It's actually inside of you.
You just got to get it out.
You just got to get it out. You just got to activate it. Amen. The only way you activate something is by opening it.
Yeah.
Actually taking the attempt to open it, to make it, and trying to figure it out and play with it and blah, 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 right? Not only that, today I'm able to go ahead and I'm doing well. I'm going forward in life. I'm doing a lot. I'm downloading. I'm dedicating some of my time to go out there and do services within my community. I also went home. Actually, right before the COVID, I was in Ghana. My brother and I, we purchased almost 300 acres of worth of land. We want to build a school.
Way to go.
We want to build a school just like the American system, so that we can actually help a bunch of kids. Right now, my brother and I feed 1,000 kids with our paycheck, 10% of our paychecks back home. We have a cashew farm back there that people actually live on the cashew farm, so that we can actually sell, so that we can put other kids to school, because to me, education is the key. I don't I don't want them to think that I'm giving them everything. No, but I'm going to give them one thing in life, and that's education. Because one day I want you to go back to Africa. And when you see them in Africa, they can actually bring the value that they have within them. They can express it to you, because how do you express value if you can't even communicate? If there's a language barrier there, all of that. So I try to give these children something that I never had.
That's amazing.
That is why even in my own kids, I take the time to read to them, because I wish I had that. And I promise you, if I had that, maybe today I won't be standing here talking to you. Maybe I will be running for mayor, or I'll be running for this head of state, because I would. Even now that I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, I still am considering that. You know, because I can't stop growing. Right now, my biggest goal for this year is to complete my book that is coming out here very soon.
Nice.
I'll be teaching a lot of classes at the universities, and people always reaching out to me 24/7. I'm always on the go. And sometimes, even with what you're doing, you're going to feel like, why am I even doing this? You're going to have days that are going to be very bad.
I like to call those the empty net days. Pull
Guess
up the
what?
nets, nothing.
Today you're talking to me. So remember, you didn't need everyone's opinion. You didn't need my opinion. You didn't need anyone's opinion. All you needed is your opinion. It's how you look at your life. It's how you look at what it is that you can become. Don't let what you don't have today stop you from what you can become. Dream about what you can become and work on what you can become. That, to me, is what I call living your rhythm. Because when you know that, you go by it and do the very best. And I'm proud to say that today I'm here because the house my parents promised me, my parents are divorced.
Oh, wow.
So the house. So where would I be with my kids today?
You wouldn't be having a house, and it wouldn't be that comfortable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where would I be? But a lot of people will settle for that. Don't settle. Make your decisions and stick with it, because it will stick to you. If you stick with your dream, it will stick to you. I remember the very first time I met your friend Blake.
Oh, Willie Blake, yeah.
It was at a university. That kid could hardly say 2 words. And when I finished speaking, he waited for almost 2 hours to come and talk to me.
Wow.
He didn't even want people to come and talk to him. And today, when I see Willie out there, I am proud.
Yeah, he's doing good stuff. I'm going to get him on the podcast too, for sure.
I am so proud of him. It brings me to tears sometimes. And he and I will be putting on one of the biggest conference together here very soon. And maybe you will become there too on that. And it's going to be called My Rhythm. Because we need to go out there and help our future leaders, the leaders of tomorrow, to understand that they need to be attached to their purpose. And how do they find a purpose? It starts from within. It's not the looks. It's not who has the best. It's not who has the best clothes, the best that, because at the end of the day, that does not matter. What matters is the value. Don't be so focused on success, being successful. The goal is to become a person of value. And success will attract itself to you. And that, because when you are becoming a person of value, you inspire people to want to be better. So to me, how I pick my leaders, when somebody comes to me and tell me, this person is a powerful person, he's amazing, he's so powerful. Well, the question I ask is, how did that powerful person, what did his power do to you? Did he change you? Did he help you to become a better person? If he didn't, then he was not a leader. But if you tell me, this person inspired me, And because of that, I became this. Yeah. Now you're talking to me about a leader.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I pick my leaders. And I want to be a person of value, not a leader, but a person of value. And that's what I call living my rhythm.
Wow. Yeah, if you'd like me to be in your conference thing, I'm on board. I'll do whatever.
Oh, you with me. Don't worry. I'm working on it. It was supposed to happen this summer. We already have everything all planned, but then COVID happened. So now we definitely lost quite a bit of money, big time, because we had everything planned. We were gonna bring all these big people and everything, the fact that a kid from a three-house village even get to meet with, former President W. Bush Jr., Condoleezza Rice, and today these people are actually helping me getting my book. They're writing the forwardings. Three-house village. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. You just got to have the perspective of what if. And that is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of thinking about so I'm reading this book right now for my organizational leadership class, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's really good. I've already read it before, but we're all like a book. I feel like some people, they look at everybody else's book like, man, that cover looks so cool. And you don't even look inside. You don't even get to know them. And in the same way, you don't even get to know yourself. So how can you know what you can do for people if you don't even look inside and add to it and write in it,
That's why it drives me crazy. I don't like to hang around with negative people. That's one of the things that I've set my mind on. If you're negative, I'm not going to hang out with you, because if you're coming in my life, since you and I started talking, today I give you 1 episode. That push you 1 more episode higher than what you had just barely.
Yeah, that's at the bare minimum, though. This has really helped me, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people.
But you see, it's a bare minimum. But people don't see that, the unconsidered need. Everybody's looking for the big thing out there, the big thing out there, that we forget that the small and simple things, great things come to pass.
Yep.
And that is what I focus on, that the unconsidered need that people don't pay attention to is what I do. I'm not the greatest sales guy out there. I will never take that credit. There's people that are better than me. You know why I became so good at sales? Because when a customer talked to me, the things that they don't consider, the small things that they said that they thought that I didn't think of, is what I focus on. And when they see that, I don't ask for PO. They cut the PO and give me my purchase order. I don't ask for it, because I've served them with everything they did. And that's what you talk about, the book. Everybody's so busy looking for the perfect book. The perfect book is within you. So when are you going to write yours? When am I going to read your book? Because your book that you think that your life is boring, your kids is boring, and maybe your childhood will be boring, it could be one inspired story that could change a life. And to me, it's not about anything. I don't care about anything in this world. There's one thing I care about. It is the soul of a person. Because when you make a soul happy, you change a generation. And that is, I like to teach people how to actually hear their own soul and believing in it and build that confidence. Because when you hear rhythm, when you hear what you're capable of can do, you can feel it. You have that confidence to take the next step. And I work with people with different programs and things that I do. And on top of that, I also put drum in there. Like, you need to come to one of my drum class and you will see how I help these people think outside of the box with a different perspective. That's the value I have. And so that's why, because the drum plus everything that I stand for, I'm playing a rhythm. And so I want them to join me in my rhythm. So thank you for inviting me in. I hope I've been able to add a little bit of value to you today and to your listeners. And again, thank you so much. And I hope that people actually will appreciate what we talked about today. And please invite me anytime. I have a lot. If I tell you that we're going to talk about my story, we won't go. You maybe do 2 episodes. but I would love to come live one day. If you have chance for people, your listeners, to even want to come in and ask me questions as we go, we are not going to do it as like Zoom being this, just bring me in, let them ask me questions, throw the questions at me and I answer them, because listen, my goal is help others to live their rhythm too, because it feels good to live your rhythm.
It does. It really does. Well, yeah, you've definitely added a lot of value today, Christian. And just from my first phone call with you, it just really kind of hit me like this is somebody somebody who really does care and genuinely does want to add value and kind of help people see those things they might be overlooking and help them to grow and be better. So yeah, I'll take everything you said in mind, and I definitely like to have you back on the podcast in the future, and wish you all the best with the book. And how can our listeners find you? How can they get in touch with you?
All they have to do is that they can either find me on Instagram, which you already know, the Chris Appia, or they can even, put in there, live your rhythm, hashtag live your rhythm. I'm the only guy there with that name. Or they can even go to, Google and look for DoYourWhy. They type in DoYourWhy. Mine is DoYourWhy. Okay, do your why. Okay, I'm doing my why. My why is my rhythm. That's what I'm doing. I just don't want to just get up and just do it. No, I don't want to do that. I want to know why I'm doing it. So that's why I'm doing my why. And so it's all of that. I'm there. And they can find me there on Facebook. They can find me there, even if they go into YouTube, they can find some of my videos. And
they're good. I've seen some of them.
More of my stories are there. There was a lady who actually taught me how to read through jelly beans, because I've never tasted a jelly bean before. And she gave me one and I was in love with that. So the stories out there, So tell them to visit. If they want to ask me any questions, I have a team. My team will get back with them, or I personally will reach out to them and help them and answer any questions that I can, so that they can also live their rhythm. And again, thank you for inviting me in today to, finding me valuable enough to be part of your podcast and inviting me in for a conversation.
Yeah, I think you have a really telling story for my audience, and there's just so much you shared. So yeah, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And we look forward, definitely. I want to see how everything turned out to be. And then just go ahead and hashtag me when you bring it out and everything. I'll make sure I send it to some of my team members and other people there too, so people can actually tune in and listen to it. Help you get more followers too as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. Take care. And everybody, remember, do your why, live your rhythm. It is possible. And
Yes,
just keep trying. And let's try to do it's like
okay. So it goes like this.
Yeah. Okay. I can't do it.
So
it's like the loudest I can do it. Yeah, you've got practice with that. Oh man. Well, we tried. You know what? I'll try to practice that. It's kind of like the rub your belly and tap your head thing. Like, yeah, we take some practice.
I love it.
Great.
But you know what? If you have any gathering going on in Idaho, anything that you want to, even sometime I do like family reunions, get together for small groups, let me know. I would love to, because normally when I go, actually, by the time I leave, wherever I give a speech, I always make sure that I teach people how to do that. So they at least,
that's cool. Such a powerful story.
Thank you.
Take care, Christian. Thank you.